My name is Ian, and my project is BIG, which was the configuration generation and storage system. Slides will work. So just a brief reminder, it's a command line tool that is supposed to help you when your computer utterly crashes and you need to do a fresh install of whatever Linux you want. I normally don't want to keep my files, and I've talked to a lot of people and they don't seem to either. So this is mainly focused on your configuration files and installed programs. Alright, so what have I done so far? So I have my lovely GUI, which actually is a TUI, set up, and I can generate a manifest file from your dpackage output. So it just basically runs dpackage-l, which lists all of the packages installed on your system, and it will tidily dump that into a manifest file, which I think is the correct manifest file that I want. I made that in an XML format, and it is like 40,000 lines long or something after I trim it down a lot. So I believe that is the correct output that I want. I can also take that manifest file and generate a nice install script for the system of your choosing. That's basically just sudo apt-get install or aptitude, or I actually made one that does pacman for you Arch Linux users. So I also have the, like I said, the basic XML parsing for the manifest file, and also some stuff with the configuration files. So I want this to be a pretty flexible program that you can set it up however you want, but I also want it to be pretty easy if you're just getting started, so you don't have to read all of the documentation at once. So you can just write your standard Linux configuration file. And there's a few options that I specify in the documentation. So I can mostly parse those. There's a lot of bugs in this program right now, and I have a few of the options implemented, so it will include or exclude programs of your choosing. And I have some bare bones package filtering for users who don't really want to spend all this time configuring it. So right now I filter out things like your window manager or your desktop environment. So all of those packages that are prefixed with GNOME will not end up in your manifest file. Things like languages, like Python, Perl, I've added an option to filter those out. I've experimented with filtering out everything that starts with lib, and it still seems to work, sort of, when I try to install it. But the major problem is that there are like so many different packages installed on your system at any given point that I'm trying to cut the size of this down. Some other things that I filtered out are like Xserver, Xorg, which I assume if you're installing Linux, it'll either come on your system pre-baked or you'll install it yourself because you'll realize that you either want a GUI or need Xserver for something. And I'll ask for other suggestions later. So for the specifics on filtering, I wanted to make this, like I said, configurable. So in your config file, you're supposed to be able to specify general programs that you want in or out, like GNOME or Xmonad. And you can also go specific programs. So if you want to list every single package that you want included or excluded, you can do that, and it will basically override the groupings of packages. And I also wanted you to be able to specify groups of packages, so if I missed some huge chunk that you really don't want stored, then you can also specify that and it'll just grab everything and take it out. Another option would be to allow user-defined regular expressions. So you can just say, I want everything that has the third letter is an L out of my package listing, because I hate the letter L. So for future work, I need to do a lot of debugging. Lots and lots of debugging. Currently the manifest file has some sort of error in it that only happens every so often. So somehow when reading it and writing it, it will segfault only occasionally on basically null strings, which I don't know where they're coming from because I filtered those out. And then I need to implement more configuration options so that everything will be nice and tidy for the user to change and configure however they want. And better XML parsing as well as configuration file parsing so that I don't get some of the segfaults. I would also really like helpful errors. So right now it's not particularly user-friendly. So when it fails, or if I make a mistake in my own configuration files, it just kind of crashes and tells me it's wrong. But being able to parse through and give the user like a line number or somewhere where it failed would be really nice. Real package filtering, as I said before. And I would like to, I can write scripts for Pacman and other things, but I haven't really looked into how to get a listing from stuff like Pacman, and that would be a really good decision for all the other Linuxes that aren't Debian-based. And I would like to add application hooking of some kind so that every time you run your package manager, it will update itself, so you don't need to continually update your stored archives. So, as usual, thanks to Sean O'Sullivan, Professor Morphy, and all of our hosts. And are there any questions or please suggestions?
If you really have time to burn, can you tell it to try and build it from source, or does it only do like binary packages?
You can tell it to build from source. It again doesn't do that particularly well at the moment because I've been focusing on like the basic stuff. But the idea is eventually you can include not only stuff from your package manager, but source files, or even just tell it to download source from your package manager.
And does it have any support for, like, say you had your system for like a couple years and then you're trying to reflash everything and say, oh, there's like a new version because you've been living under a rock?
That would be a good plan. I haven't really found a good way to do that yet, but yes, that is a good plan.
One of the ways that you can separate out the packages that you want to keep and the packages that you don't want to keep is by just checking your system twice. Like, let's say you just installed your new, but let's take Arch for example, right? You install Arch and then you install all of your graphical configurations, right? Things that you want to change later. And then you can check to see what's on your system, right? You can just save that somewhere. All of the junk, or 40,000 lines, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you can install like all the libraries, all the applications you like using, the development applications, and then you can check again and just save whatever's different between the two lists.
So like set difference, basically.
Yeah.
That's cool.